So, GameTrailers is gone. There was a tweet that went out today on the GameTrailers Twitter that said, "After 13 years, GameTrailers is closing down. Thank you for your continued support over the years. It has been an adventure." I just kind of wanted to talk. I know this is kind of like impromptu. I just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about my thoughts on GameTrailers and my experience with it. It's a shame to see it go. I honestly haven't gone to GameTrailers in quite some time. I mean, I would typically around E3, I would go to GameTrailers to watch what was happening on there because I always the week of E3, I'm always checking a ton of different websites and watching different live streams. So I had a lot of fun going to their live streams sometimes. I don't really know a lot of the new crew. I really only know Brandon Jones, who was the creator and founder of GameTrailers. He's the voice of all the reviews and like all the videos that go up, or like, mostly video reviews and like retrospectives and things like that. So I didn't really know a lot of the personalities that were there. And when I first experienced GameTrailers, if you want to put it that way, when I first was going to GameTrailers back in 2002, when it first started, I was not really familiar with personality-based game coverage. I was really just, I mean, at the time, I had mostly been reading magazines. That was my main source of video game news. In 2002, I know a lot of people were like GameSpot fans, and I don't remember when IGN started, but people were if they were going on the internet to video game websites, like GameSpot was the place to go. But for whatever reason, I just never went to GameSpot. I just was never into it. I don't know why. But GameTrailers, I remember I would log on the internet for two reasons: to go to GameTrailers and watch their video reviews, and to go to Game Revolution, this old website that had like cheat codes and some game news and some game reviews. So I'd go there and read their written reviews on Game Revolution. But GameTrailers was the first place that I actually got to experience video game reviews, and they were fantastic. I still don't think anyone has done them as well, has done video reviews as well as GameTrailers has, at least in terms of, maybe it's just Brandon Jones' voice. I think he has like the perfect voice for that stuff. So it was probably just him. Maybe that was the great thing, because I don't know. The writing was usually pretty decent, but man, his voice was fantastic. It was perfect for that. But GameTrailers for me was my introduction to online video game coverage, and it introduced me to a lot of different things. It introduced me to the Angry Video Game Nerd, who I was into for a brief time. Don't really care about him anymore. It introduced me to I learned a ton about video games, like from video game history, by watching a lot of their retrospectives. It was a place where I went to get some video game news as well. Because like I said, I was still reading magazines. I was still stuck on that. While everyone was kind of trying to move into the digital age, I still loved my magazines, so I was always reading those. But when I got on the internet, I would go to GameTrailers for that stuff. And I kind of fell off. I hadn't been going on a regular basis for like probably the last 5 years or so. So I was way into them early on, but kind of drifted off once I got into personality-based video game coverage and didn't really care about. Back then, it was awesome to watch a bunch. Like, I could just watch video game trailers anytime I want, and it was incredible to me. Bonus Round with Jeff Keighley, that is one of the shows I have seen every single episode of Bonus Rounds, probably multiple times, because when I started getting into video games, I wanted to know, not just I love playing video games, but I love the industry, and that was one of those things where it brought experts in from different video game websites and magazines, and even producers or game analysts or different people throughout the industry, and I got to hear their take on it. It was one of the best shows that one of my favorite shows that ever existed on the internet. I really wish Jeff Keighley would bring that back in some way, because I would love to watch that again. But I've seen every episode of Bonus Round. I don't even know how many times. I've watched a lot of them, and there are a good amount of them. Something I've been doing recently, ever since I found this out today, I went on to GameTrailers YouTube channels. I've just been downloading like all their retrospectives, all of their bonus rounds that I can get, anything that I really want. There's too many reviews, and I don't really care that much about going back and watching the reviews. Some of them would be nice to go back and see. I have gone back to look at some old ones, but that's just kind of because I'm in like a nostalgic mode right now. But yeah, I don't know. I go through this weird thing where I think that everything is going to disappear at some point. I did it with OneUp when OneUp.com went down. Or, not it didn't go down, but it ceased to be an active website. I went through and like I saved a bunch of articles that I really like from different writers, like Sean Elliott. I'm a big fan of Sean Elliott and Jeff Green, so I saved a lot of their stuff because I was like worried I'm never going to get it again. I have a ton of the podcasts. I have like the whole archive of the GFW radio back when they were CGW radio and so on. I'm going through and doing a lot of that. Maybe that's unnecessary, but for me, it's nice to have that to always go back to because I'm really going to miss. I mean, I hope Brandon Jones land somewhere. I mean, I hope all these people land somewhere good. Elise Willems, who was one of the people, she did like a daily news show, or she did a news show on GameTrailers. I really didn't keep up with it, but she's the wife of James Willems, who is part of Funhouse, which is a really funny group on YouTube. You should check them out. But she's over there at Funhouse now, which is great for her. And she's really hilarious. So you should go check her out and check out Funhouse. But I'm glad she landed somewhere. I hope the other people at GameTrailers land somewhere. I really am not familiar with them except for, like I said, Brandon Jones. So I really hope things work out for him. But yeah, it sucks to see another site like this go. I mean, it's an old site, so like I have a lot of memories of it. And if it wasn't for bonus round and retrospectives, I probably want to hold it in as high of a regard as I do. But it's a shame to see him go. It really is. I honestly don't know how many retrospectives they've done recently. I kind of fell off. I would check the site on a regular basis to see bonus rounds, but I fell off after Jeff Keighley left. I was like, there's not much reason for me to go back. So I don't know what the last retrospective they did was. So yeah, I'd like to go back and catch up on any of those that I missed, but I hope they leave the website up. I mean, it's one of those weird things that you get into. Like, what happens to this stuff? Because it still costs money to keep this up and running, and it still costs, you have to pay for the storage space for all these videos. I mean, they're just videos. I don't think they've ever done really any text on the site, so they're just videos. It's a question of, like, what happens to this website and the archive of it all. I mean, I'm sure it'll remain on YouTube, and they won't take down their YouTube channels, but maybe they'll just upload everything there and eventually get rid of the website. But like, you're still paying bandwidth costs. I'm sure they're not going to get a ton of traffic. Probably initially in this first few days that this has happened and everything's kind of raw, if you want to say it that way. I'm sure they're going to get a lot of traffic, or maybe a short uptick in traffic for those of us who are nostalgic for them. But that's certainly not going to last very long. So I don't know. I'm really curious to see what happens. I'm always curious when these websites go down. It's like, what do? You have all this content. It's not like magazines where they were just shipped to people, and if you want them, you have them, and you just keep them and whatever. There's no way to really keep this going. Like, you're just losing money at a certain point because you're not going to be running ads on the website. You're not going to have users going to but people are going to still probably show up there once in a while to watch old reviews, old retrospectives, and so on and so forth. So maybe they'll just upload it to YouTube. I don't know. I don't want to make this video very long, but I just I want to give my brief thoughts about it. It sucks. It was a good website back in the day. It seemed like they had moved on to get more personalities and gone more of the personality driven way. I never really connected with any of the personalities there, so I didn't stick around. But for something I forgot to mention, they also put a post on Facebook that said, after 13 years, GameTrailers is closing down today. When GameTrailers was founded in 2002, internet video was a revolutionary concept. YouTube wouldn't be found for another 3 years. Consumer live streaming was 9 years away. Back then, online game journalism was still dominated by text articles and static imagery. The most prestigious coverage still happened in print. If you wanted to watch a show about video games, you had to watch it on a special TV station that had 10 shows. GameTrailers helped change all that. Today, games journalism is dominated by video, trailers, live gameplay, let's plays, and news shows. Now there are millions of hours of content available at any time on your PC, your game console, your TV, and your phone. We're proud we helped bring this world into being. That is the legacy of GameTrailers. We're grateful to all of our fans who helped us make this, who helped make us successful. Thank you for your continued support over the years. It has been an adventure. They posted that on Facebook. Whoever posted it, I don't know. But when I think about the like the big mainstay video game sites, you have IGN and GameSpot. I think those are like the two big ones that everyone thinks of. I think IGN is still like the biggest video game one currently, but for me, it's always been IGN, GameSpot, and GameTrailers. And GameTrailers is always at the bottom of that list because it's definitely the smallest one. But for me personally, it was always it was my first introduction, like I said, like I mentioned before. So for me, it's always kind of been like one of those bigger websites. Plus it had someone like Jeff Keighley on it. It brought AV, Angry Video Game Nerd, and it just had it seemed like it was such a big and rising thing. And then I don't know what happened over the years. They got bought by Defy Entertainment or something like that. I'm not sure. Should have done my research better, but and I remember they had a bunch of layoffs after that, and things kind of seemed to really shift at that point. Maybe, I don't know. At that point, by the time they were bought by them, I was kind of done with GameTrailers. I wasn't checking them that often. But I do really think GameTrailers did help push that stuff into being. I wouldn't say they did everything, because I feel like Let's Plays got bigger, especially with something like Giant Bomb doing their quick looks. They really helped push the whole, not necessarily Let's Plays. Let's Plays were around before them, but they kind of, when it came to that format, I feel like a personality-driven sort of video game coverage and Let's Plays, they were at the forefront of it. I think GameTrailers definitely helped push for more video. They were all video website, and that definitely makes a difference, because GameSpot, even though they had video GameSpot, and IGN had video, they still had a ton of text. I mean, they still do have a ton of text on the website. GameTrailers has always been just like, we're video focused, which I don't know why GameTrailers didn't try harder to make it go at YouTube rather than their own website, but whatever. That's a whole nother discussion. But yeah, I feel like that post is justified in what they said. Sometimes people write stuff at the end. It's like, oh, we really helped push this forward, or we were at the forefront. It's like, no, you weren't really. But in this case, GameTrailers definitely was. And they certainly, in my mind, and I don't think in the larger sense that a lot of people will, like the average person who doesn't really follow video game coverage too much, but checks IGN once in a while, or, checks reviews on IGN or something like that. I don't think they're going to really think much of GameTrailers, but for those of us who, grew up in that era, sort of just getting to use the internet around that age, I don't know, I think GameTrailers was an important part of that. It's a shame to see them go. I mean, I didn't think they were too great in their later years, but that certainly doesn't mean that I would want them to disappear. If you haven't checked out any of GameTrailers stuff before, I would highly recommend going back and watching some retrospectives and definitely some bonus rounds. Those are the big things. You can find a lot of other content. There is a lot of other content on GameTrailers, but for me, as someone who loves the industry and wants to know more about history and what is going on and what professionals think, and it's really neat. Like, the bonus round is a really neat thing to go back, and it's almost like a time capsule to see what people were thinking, what people were speculating about, the initial thoughts about different things that were going on. The E3 coverage when Jeff Keighley was there was awesome as well. So like the pre-E3 coverage, doing like E3 bonus rounds and stuff, that stuff was great. So if you're interested in that, like from a historical perspective, definitely go back and check that stuff out. But yeah, I don't want to make this video too long, so that's just my quick thoughts about GameTrailers. It'd be cool if you told me anything you thought about GameTrailers, and we can reminisce or something, I guess. I don't know. Whatever. Is there 2-player at the end?